Hi, folks. Welcome back. Dennis Vitoza, also known as F Noodles. And today we're going to be talking about Candace Owens and some recent statements she made about the Lindsay Clancy trial. Now, Candace is no stranger to controversy. In the last year, she's been getting a lot of criticism for her coverage of the Charlie Kirk assassination. And now, some of her comments on the Lindsay Clancy trial have started ruffling a lot of feathers. For anybody who may not be familiar with this case, Lindsay Clancy is a 36-year-old former labor and delivery nurse from Duxbury, Massachusetts, who is currently in court facing charges revolving around the strangulation deaths of her 3 young children, ranging in age from 5 years old to 8 months old. Afterward, Clancy cut her own throat and jumped from a second-story window, leaving her permanently paralyzed from the waist down. But today, we're going to look specifically at Candace Owens' comments on the situation because the reaction to them has been both surprising and in some ways completely unsurprising to a lot of people on the internet. Anyway, here are Candace Owens' comments.
The girl Corinne writes, I know you're busy, but I'd love to know your thoughts on the Lindsay Clancy case in Massachusetts. I made my thoughts clear on this the moment that she was arrested, the moment that it made the news. Lindsay Clancy is obviously not guilty. There are a fleet of doctors who should be imprisoned for what they put her on. I regularly speak out against Big Pharma. They get away with murder all the time. And in this case, they are getting away with the murder of really her 3 children, but also completely destroyed her life. When Lindsay Clancy, in my opinion, is not guilty. She was put into an intentional psychosis when she probably just needed to give her kids away for a weekend to get better, but they constantly give you these drugs that do not make things better. And the cocktail of 10 pharmaceuticals that she was on is absolute madness. Absolute madness.
Women are incapable of accountability, folks. What even is this? Really? That's what we're doing here now? We're blaming the doctors who gave Lindsay prescriptions, who are actively checking in with her and actively following procedure? Really? Anything but hold this woman accountable for her decisions, right? Now, obviously, what I'm saying isn't just to suggest that mental health issues don't happen or that people don't struggle with these kinds of issues, but outside of Lindsay's own mother, and I think maybe 1 or 2 friends who testified as such, there isn't really an extensive record of Lindsay communicating to her mental health professionals that she was hearing voices and being told that she had to kill her children. That's something she only communicated after the fact to her husband. So the question remains, are we going to hold this woman accountable, or is this about diverting accountability? Is this about exonerating this woman and using mental health as an excuse to do it? And look, here's the thing. I side with Candace on some of these issues. I do believe Big Pharma is a huge issue that should be discussed. I do believe doctors are often incentivized to over-medicate people instead of actually seeking out different alternative sources of treatment. That's something I actually agree with Candace on. But I don't think that gets you to the point where you can say with absolute certainty that this woman is innocent by virtue of the fact that she was over-medicated. I don't believe that to be true. I don't believe that in this country you get to kill 3 of your children, attempt suicide, and then suddenly, no, it's actually the doctor. Everybody commenting on this case is choosing to blame somebody else. They're either blaming the healthcare system or, as we saw in the last video that we covered, some really insane people are blaming the husband. But the reality is justice in this case isn't even for Lindsay, as these people are trying to make it. Yet that's what these people are trying to make it about. This is about giving the children justice. And look, by the way, when I say they in this case, I'm talking about women. At first, it seemed like it was mostly liberal women, but I guess Candace identifies somewhat with right-leaning principles. I don't know how much of a Republican she would consider herself to be currently, but increasingly, I have to say, this is starting to look like this is a woman thing. Obviously, I can't generalize. I've seen plenty of women call out the insanity around the response to this case. Plenty of women do it. Candace represents a segment of women on the internet. I can't tell you whether it's the majority of minority because I see a lot of posts on both sides from women completely disassociating Lindsay Clancy from any responsibility whatsoever, and women very clearly calling out this sort of response to Lindsay. That said, the next most insane part of all of this to me is that Candace is actually attempting to pin the blame for the deaths of these children on the doctors who prescribed Clancy the medication. And from what I've seen, there is extensive documentation from the doctors as to how they carried out the treatment. To be precise, treating clinicians and medical experts testified that Clancy was prescribed over a dozen psychiatric medications across a 4-month period for postpartum anxiety, depression, and severe insomnia. Providers stated that they saw typical postpartum distress, but no explicit signs of psychosis from Lindsay, while also acknowledging fragmented care and communication gaps. Caregivers testified to prescribing numerous drugs, including Prozac, Zoloft, Seroquel, Remeron, and Ativan, as Clancy frequently asked to switch medications while battling worsening insomnia and distress. Clinicians, including psychiatric nurse practitioners, stated that Clancy reported intense intrusive thoughts and fears of medication dependency, but providers reassured her that these symptoms aligned with severe postpartum anxiety rather than active psychosis. Now, evidence and testimony also reveal that Clancy did not consistently take all of the prescribed pills, leaving some prescriptions largely unused. Detailed providers were not always tracking in real time. Further, expert and clinician statements pointed to the lack of a unified, coordinated team with different providers managing her care through isolated touch points and telemedicine visits. Now, the defense is obviously making arguments about severe postpartum psychosis, bipolar disorder, the hallucinations she was supposedly suffering from, systemic misdiagnosis, polypharmacy, and the idea that she masked her symptoms. Meanwhile, the prosecution is leaning on evidence of premeditation and planning. Prosecutors argue that Clancy deliberately created a window of opportunity to kill the children. They point to her sending her husband out of the house on specific errands, like picking up a specific restaurant dinner and a specific over-the-counter medication, giving her ample time to carry out the strangulations of her children without interruption. They also point to the fact that there were no real-time reports of psychosis. Clancy never actually reported hearing voices, having delusions, or experiencing hallucinations to any of her outpatient doctors, therapists, or psychiatric nurse practitioners. Investigators also presented evidence from her phone and computer showing internet searches for topics like psychosis, hallucinations, and can you treat a sociopath, which the prosecution argues demonstrates a high level of calculating self-awareness rather than an involuntary, chaotic, psychotic break. And further, to counter the defense's over-medication and intoxication claims, the prosecution called a forensic toxicologist who testified that the concentrations of psychiatric drugs in Clancy's blood were well below toxic or suicidal levels. Further, on cross-examination, the prosecution highlighted that Clancy only explicitly detailed hearing the male command voice after the killings had occurred. They've questioned the timing of this narrative, implying that it may have been constructed after the fact to build a legal defense. And there's so much more that's come up. This is only the tip of the iceberg here, folks. We haven't even discussed her confessions. There was more than one confession, including one in front of one of her doctors, Dr. Zeisel, who testified to witnessing it. So what the hell is Candace Owens even saying? Seriously, dude, what is the goal in pushing this sort of narrative? Is she purposely trying to be provocative, or is she just straight up retarded? Seriously, folks, what is wrong with women in this country? Have they completely lost their minds? I'm asking this seriously. I've posted a lot of snarky, tongue-in-cheek videos, being facetious, saying women are getting more retarded over the last few days, but I'm asking this in all seriousness now. This is starting to become a serious concern. This isn't normal, folks. You look back to Casey Anthony, as I mentioned in my last video, Casey Anthony wouldn't have gotten a drip of sympathy. Over 3 decades ago, there was another case of a woman who drowned her children in the back of a car and got zero sympathy. In fact, most women who did something like this, more often than not, almost got publicly lynched in this country for this kind of stuff. And now they're being celebrated. This woman, Lindsay, raised basically $1 million. What are we doing? Is TikTok the problem, or is this another mass psychosis episode this country is currently going through? I need to know, because this isn't normal. And all jokes aside, this is something we have to start looking at seriously if we hope to keep the country together. Because you even have people like Tomi Lahren going out there and saying some of the dumbest things I've ever heard. She's unironically, indirectly defending people in this situation. She said on X, I know a lot of Republicans don't want to hear this, but the right is on the verge of making the same mistake with young women that the left did with young men. Guess what, Tommy? Young women are already on the left. They're the majority of the left statistically. Anyway, Tomi continues, I know some of these women are fun to mock, and I get it, and I do it too, but we have to do better if we want to bring them over to our side. No, we don't. We don't have to do anything. These people are literally talking about killing children. We don't negotiate with terrorists, okay? You got to understand, there's a breaking point. I'm not going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya with somebody who's talking about mutilating and killing children, period, okay? Anyway, Tomi continues saying, if we totally alienate young women, we will not win elections. On the contrary, Tomi, I disagree. Anyway, she also says we have to find a way to appeal to them. Fuck them. Kindly fuck them. I don't give a fuck. That's it. They're going to have to deal with it. This is the country they want. They're going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to deal with getting to their mid-40s, not having children, wondering where they went wrong, realizing they've been lied to, and then applying the appropriate corrective measures to steer the country culturally in a direction that they like. Because men can't keep doing this by ourselves if women are going fucking nuts. Because if men are to do it by ourselves, you ladies won't like how we do it. Just saying. When men get to fighting, women get to hiding. Anyway, Tomi continues saying, making fun of girl bosses and telling women they shouldn't value their careers too much might make for some fun podcast banter, but it's alienating and pissing off a lot of otherwise conservative women. Just thought you should know. Hell no. I don't give a fuck, dude. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. Politics is scary. Get used to it. You don't like it, go vote the way you vote. And then guess what? It's only going to get scarier. See, I saw a graph today showing that for the first time in history, there are fewer married men under 40 than there are married men over 40. Most young men, in fact, are choosing not to get married, and there's a reason for that, folks. The dating market sucks. It sucks. You can't find a good woman. 90% of women are not marriage material. And I don't mean that as a personal insult toward women. I mean this directly. We've gotten to a breaking point, ladies. We really have. It's over. We're just going to focus on building our businesses, and you can just kindly fuck off. Because unmarried men have gone from 20 million in 2000 to 30 million currently, while married men have gone down from 18 million to 15 million. That's in a 25-year period. It's a botched dating market. You only have bad apples to choose from. Family court is absolutely horrendous and disproportionately punitive towards the man. And the education system is actively trying to turn not just your children against you, but your children against themselves by trying to trans them. So hell no, dude. If you're a dude, go out and build a business. Build a life for yourself. Fuck finding a wife right now. They keep talking about the male loneliness epidemic. Nah. Men have got to start going their own way, folks. It's over. We're not acquiescing to this bullshit anymore. The world's a scary place. People have had it way too good. Every once in a while, you got to be reminded just how scary it can get. We live in the most prosperous, comfortable nation in the history of the world, okay? And we got bitches out here killing their children and making money off of it. The moral decay of our country is absolutely astounding. It's game over. Fuck it. Seriously. No, actually, don't fuck it. That's the point. Build your business, make your money, and don't get married, at least for the moment. If you want to fool around, I guess, do you, bro? But you better wrap it up so you don't end up in family court and fucked over. That said, that's not really what I would suggest that you do. I would suggest that you try to build a family, right? Actually find a wife if you're able to. If not, take your time. Look for the right partner. Who cares if it takes 20 years, 40 years? Put it off as long as you want, or be a passport, bro. Go somewhere else where there is no social media. It's going to be hard, but I'm just being realistic. And sign a prenup. That's it. That's all you got to do. This is what we're dealing with, where the best women are basically psychopaths. Really? That's the pick of the litter? Nah, that's not going to work, Jack. And we're going to keep making fun of you, by the way. I don't give a fuck. I'm not living for pussy. I don't give a fuck. I'm not trying to get laid. I'm trying to get paid, motherfucker. Nah, I'm going to keep laughing at you fucking suckers. I'm living the St. Paul life. No sexual immorality, just dedicating my life to Christ, going to daily mass, building things, and fuck all you motherfuckers. Fuck all of you. Get the fuck out of my face with this bullshit. This woman, the doctors did it. Nah, fuck you. Fuck you. Anyway, folks, you tell me what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Share it with a friend if you think they'll enjoy it as well. And I'll see you at the next one. Take care. Peace.